The scanner readings made no sense. Senior Scanner Velith 7 of the Kaldrex Sovereignty stared at the holographic display, his three eyes narrowing in confusion. The energy signatures were impossible. Nothing in 12,000 years of recorded galactic history matched what he was seeing. The monitoring station orbited at the edge of the Terminus Nebula, a place where space was supposed to be empty, dead, yet the sensors showed otherwise. 217 distinct power readings, all holding perfect formation in the void. "Commander Thex," Velith 7 called out, his voice steady despite the tremor in his secondary hands. "We have contact. Unknown vessels. Many of them." Commander Thex floated over to the scanner station, her tentacles rippling with curiosity. The Kaldrex were an old race, patient and careful. They had seen many things in their long history. But this was different. "Run full spectrum analysis," she ordered. "Cross-reference with every known FTL signature in the database." Velith 7 worked quickly, his fingers dancing across the controls. The database contained information on 47 member species of the Galactic Assembly. Every type of faster-than-light drive, every energy signature, every propulsion system ever recorded. The computer searched through all of it in seconds. Zero matches. "This is not possible," Velith 7 whispered. "The signatures are completely unknown. The technology is nothing like ours. It is as if these vessels bend space itself in ways we have never seen." Commander Thex felt a chill run through her body. In all her years of service, she had never encountered anything truly new. The galaxy was old. All the major civilizations had been discovered. All the dangerous species were known and catalogued. This changed everything. "Send a priority alert to High Command," she said. "Classify it as Tier 1 threat. Then prepare a diplomatic reconnaissance flotilla. We need to know who they are." Within hours, 6 Kaldrex vessels departed the monitoring station. They were science ships, not warships, equipped with translation arrays and peaceful greeting protocols. The Kaldrex had first contact procedures that had been refined over millennia. They knew how to approach unknown species without causing alarm. As the flotilla approached the unknown fleet, the sensors began to reveal more details. The ships were massive, some nearly a kilometer long. Their hulls were smooth and angular, made from materials that absorbed sensor waves like water drinking light. No visible weapons, no obvious engines, just sleek, dark shapes that seemed to hide in the fabric of space itself. "They are using stealth technology," Velith 7 reported from his station. "Very advanced stealth. Our sensors can barely detect them even now. If they had not wanted us to see them, we would have passed right by without knowing." That thought disturbed Commander Thex more than anything else. How long had these ships been here? How long had they been watching? The flotilla came to a stop 5,000 kilometers from the nearest vessel. At this distance, the Kaldrex could finally read the markings on the hull. Strange symbols, angular and precise. The translation computer worked to decode them. "UNSC," Velith 7 read aloud. "Terran Defense Force, I am searching the database for the term Terran." Another search. Another negative result. The term did not exist in any galactic record. "These are humans," Commander Thex said quietly. "A completely unknown species. Not registered with the Assembly, not in any database. They should not exist." She took a deep breath and composed herself. First contact was always delicate. The next few minutes would determine whether these humans became friends or enemies of the Galactic Assembly. "Open all communication channels," she ordered. "Broadcast standard greeting protocols in all known languages. Let them know we come in peace." The message went out into the void. The Kaldrex waited. Seconds passed. Then minutes. The human fleet remained silent and still, like great beasts sleeping in the dark. Commander Thex was about to order a second transmission when her communication console lit up. A response was coming through. Not in any of the 47 assembly languages. The signal was being translated in real time by the computer. Then the voice came through. It was in perfect Kaldrex, every inflection correct, every tone precise, as if the speaker had been born speaking their language. "Greetings, Commander Thex of the Kaldrex Sovereignty. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Nations Space Command. We have been waiting for you." The words hung in the air like ice. Waiting for them? How could they have been waiting? The humans should not even know the Kaldrex existed. Commander Thex felt her hearts beat faster. She exchanged looks with Velith 7. The scanner's face showed the same fear she felt. Something was very wrong here. "Admiral Chen," Thex replied carefully. This is first contact between our species. How do you know our language? How do you know my name? There was a pause. Then the human admiral spoke again, and there was something like amusement in her voice. Because we have been watching the Galactic Assembly for 73 years, Commander. We know all of your languages. We know your protocols. We know your strengths and your weaknesses. We have been very patient, but now it is time for humanity to introduce itself properly. 73 years. The number echoed in Commander Thex's mind. That was impossible. That would mean the humans had discovered the assembly before the assembly discovered them. It would mean they had been studying in secret for decades, planning, preparing. We request permission to dock with your flagship, Admiral Chen continued. We have much to discuss. The future of humanity and the assembly depends on what happens in the next few hours. Will you grant us an audience? Commander Thex looked at her crew. They all watched her, waiting for her decision. Protocol said she should refuse. Unknown species could be dangerous. But protocol also said first contact should be handled with diplomacy and openness. And somewhere deep inside, Commander Thex knew that refusing would be pointless. These humans had been watching for 73 years. They knew things the assembly did not. They had prepared for this moment. The Caldrakes had not. The power balance was already tilted and the meeting had not even begun. The docking bay of the human flagship was nothing like Commander Thex expected. Clean white walls, soft lighting, air that smelled faintly of something she could not identify. 3 humans stood waiting, dressed in dark blue uniforms with golden insignia on their shoulders. The one in the center stepped forward. She was tall for her species, with dark hair pulled back from her face and eyes that were sharp and measuring. This was Admiral Chen. She extended her hand in what the Caldrak's database said was a human greeting gesture. Welcome aboard the Indomitable Will, Commander Thex. I hope your journey was comfortable. Commander Thex extended one of her tentacles and touched the Admiral's hand briefly. The gesture felt strange but not unpleasant. Thank you for receiving us, Admiral. Though I admit I am deeply concerned about the circumstances of our meeting. As you should be, Chen replied. Come, let me show you something. They walked through corridors that hummed with quiet power. The ship felt alive in a way that Caldrak's vessels did not. Everything was efficient. Nothing was wasted. The delegation passed other humans, all of whom moved with purpose and discipline. The conference room was large and circular, with a holographic projector in the center. 3 other species representatives were already there, a Quilarian with silver scales, an Eltrani whose crystalline body glowed softly, and a massive Vorlock whose 4 arms were folded across his chest, all members of the Galactic Assembly, all looking as confused and worried as Commander Thex felt. Please be seated, Admiral Chen said. I know you all have questions. I know you are concerned. Let me try to answer what I can. The Vorlock spoke first, his voice deep and rumbling. Your presence here violates 17 separate treaties, Admiral. The space you occupy is neutral territory under Assembly law. You have built a military fleet without authorization. You have surveilled our civilizations without permission. These are acts of war. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. I understand your anger, Ambassador Krell. But I need to correct one important misunderstanding. You believe we are in your territory. We are not. You are in ours. She activated the holographic display. A star map appeared showing hundreds of star systems in brilliant color. The Assembly representatives recognized the region immediately. It was the frontier, the edge of explored space where new colonies were being established. This is Assembly space as you understand it, Chen said. Then she pressed another control. New markers appeared on the map, glowing red. They surrounded the Assembly frontier on 3 sides. This is the Terran Exclusion Zone, 40 star systems, all colonized by humanity over the past century. The silence in the room was total. Commander Thex stared at the map, her 3 eyes wide with shock. 40 systems, 40 human colonies, all hidden from Assembly sensors, all established in what they had thought was empty space. That is impossible, the Quilarian hissed. Our scouts have surveyed those systems. They were empty, dead worlds with no intelligent life. Your scouts saw what we wanted them to see, Chen replied calmly. Humanity has developed stealth technology far beyond anything in the Assembly's current database. Our colonies exist. Our ships patrol these systems. You simply could not detect us. For 73 years, Commander Thex said quietly. You have been hiding for 73 years.
watching us.
Learning about us, all while we had no idea you existed. Admiral Chen met her eyes. Yes, we discovered your civilizations shortly after we developed faster-than-light travel. We saw your ships, your technology, your weapons, and we made a choice. We decided not to reveal ourselves until we were ready, until we could guarantee our own survival. Ambassador Krell rose to his full height, his massive frame towering over the human admiral. This is an outrage. You speak of survival, but you are the ones hiding a war fleet. You are the ones who have violated our borders. The Assembly should respond with immediate military action. Military action, Chen repeated. Her expression did not change, but something in her voice made everyone in the room go still. Ambassador, before you make that recommendation to your government, I think you should understand exactly what you would be challenging. She pressed another control on the holographic display. The star map zoomed out, showing a much larger area of space. Your assembly has been expanding into this region for 6 months. You have established 3 new colonies, built 2 listening posts, deployed 17 patrol groups, all in what you believed was unclaimed territory. The map changed. Red lines appeared, connecting the assembly installations like a web. Every one of those installations is inside the Terran exclusion zone. Every patrol group has passed within detection range of our hidden outposts at least once. And you never knew we were there. The Eltrani representative spoke for the first time, her crystalline voice chiming like bells. You are saying we have been blind. That all of our sensor technology, all of our reconnaissance has been useless against your stealth systems. Not useless, Chen corrected. Just inadequate. Humanity comes from a very dangerous world, Representative. We evolved as predators and prey at the same time. We learned to hide. We learned to watch. We learned to wait for the perfect moment to strike. These instincts shaped our technology. She walked around the holographic display, her hands clasped behind her back. We studied your civilizations for 73 years. We learned your languages. We analyzed your military capabilities. We identified your weaknesses, and we prepared countermeasures for every possible scenario. Commander Thex felt a chill run through her entire body. This was not a simple first contact situation. This was something far more complex. The humans had not just hidden from the assembly. They had studied it like scientists studying insects under glass. You speak of countermeasures, Ambassador Krell said. What exactly do you mean by that? Admiral Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. I mean that if we wanted to, we could cripple your entire communications network right now. We could shut down every sensor array, every FTL relay, every military coordination system. We could do it in minutes and you would have no way to stop us. You are bluffing, the Quilarian said. No species has that kind of capability. Admiral Chen turned to face him. Am I? Then let me prove it to you. What I'm about to do is not an act of war. It is a demonstration. A way of showing you that humanity is not to be underestimated or dismissed. She walked to a communication console and spoke clearly into it. This is Admiral Chen. Authorization code Alpha 77 Omega. Activate the shroud. Full spectrum. 14-minute duration. Acknowledged, Admiral, a voice replied. Shroud activation in 10 seconds. Commander Thex looked at her personal communicator. It was working normally, showing connection to the Caldrex fleet and the monitoring station. She waited, her heart's beating fast. Then, exactly 10 seconds later, the communicator went dark. The display showed nothing. No signal. No connection. Nothing. She looked up at the other representatives. All of them were staring at their own devices with the same expression of horror. Admiral Chen watched them with calm eyes. Now do you understand? The Galactic Assembly is offline. Every ship, every station, every world, all cut off from each other. And all it took was a single command from me. Welcome to the future, ladies and gentlemen. Humanity has arrived. Across 12 sectors of assembly space, the same scene played out in thousands of locations. Communication officers stared at blank screens. Ship captains shouted orders that could not be transmitted. Planetary governors found themselves isolated from their colonies. In less than 60 seconds, the most advanced network of faster-than-light communications in the known galaxy had gone completely silent. On the Caldrex monitoring station where this had all begun, Velith 7 watched his displays die one by one. The sensor arrays failed. The communication relays stopped responding. Even the backup systems went dark. He tried every protocol he knew, but nothing worked. The station was blind and deaf. "This cannot be happening," one of the junior officers whispered. "The network has redundancies, backups, fail-safes. It cannot all go down at once," but it had. Somehow, impossibly, the humans had done exactly what Admiral Chen promised. They had shut down everything. In the military command center on the Quilarian homeworld, Admiral Torqueth stared at the tactical display as every friendly marker blinked out. Thousands of ships, hundreds of stations, all gone from the network in an instant. His clawed hands gripped the edge of the console so hard that the metal bent. "Get me visual confirmation," he barked at his staff. "Use local sensors only. I want to know if this is just communications or if something worse is happening." His officers scrambled to obey. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then the reports started coming back. Ships were still there. Stations were still operational. People were still alive. But they could not talk to each other. Could not coordinate. Could not even send a simple message to the next star system. The Galactic Assembly had been reduced to isolated islands in a vast, dark ocean. Aboard the Indomitable Will, Commander Thex watched Admiral Chen with a mixture of fear and fascination. The human stood calmly at the center of the conference room, her hands folded behind her back while the Assembly representatives frantically tried to make their communicators work. "What have you done?" Ambassador Krell demanded. "This is an act of war. When communications are restored, the full might of the Assembly fleet will hunt down every human ship." "You have made a terrible mistake, have I?" Chen asked mildly. "Ambassador, you are thinking like someone who has never truly faced an existential threat. You are thinking about force and numbers, but this is not about how many ships you have. It is about how effectively you can use them." She gestured to the holographic display which still showed the star map. "Right now, your military commanders cannot coordinate their forces. They cannot receive orders from high command. They cannot even confirm where their own ships are located. If I wanted to, I could keep your entire fleet paralyzed for weeks, months, however long it took." "But you said this was a demonstration," the Eltrani representative chimed. "You said it was not an act of war." "It is not," Chen confirmed. "In exactly 14 minutes, your systems will come back online. All of them, completely undamaged. This blackout is temporary, but it could have been permanent. And that is what I need you to understand." Commander Thex found her voice. How is this possible?" "Our communication network was designed by the greatest engineers in the galaxy. It has layers of encryption, quantum entanglement relays, biological neural pathways. No single technology should be able to disrupt all of it." Admiral Chen walked to a wall display and brought up a technical schematic. "What you are looking at is called the Shroud. It is a quantum interference field that operates on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Over the past 70 years, human stealth ships seeded thousands of microsatellites throughout assembly space. They are small, invisible to your sensors, and when activated, they create overlapping interference patterns that disrupt all forms of electronic communication." The Quilarian hissed in disbelief.
"Thousands of satellites?"
"In our space, that would require hundreds of missions, thousands of man-hours. How did you do this without being detected even once?" "Because we are very good at not being seen," Chen replied. "Humanity spent its entire evolutionary history as both hunter and hunted. We learned patience. We learned stealth. And when we reached the stars, we brought those lessons with us." She turned back to face the representatives. "You need to understand something about my species. We did not hide from you because we are afraid. We hid because we are careful. When we discovered the assembly, we saw a galactic civilization that had been at peace for millennia. You have forgotten what real conflict looks like. You have forgotten how to defend yourselves against an enemy that does not fight fair." "And you fight fair?" Ambassador Krell growled. "We fight to win," Chen said bluntly. "We fight to survive. On our world, we had to. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. Nuclear war, climate collapse, artificial intelligence gone wrong. We learned hard lessons about technology and power, and we learned that sometimes the only way to guarantee peace is to be ready for war." She checked the chronometer on her wrist. 8 minutes until systems restore. Let me show you what else we could have done." The holographic display changed again. This time it showed internal schematics of various assembly ships and stations. Detailed technical readouts. Security protocols. Encryption keys. Everything. "We did not just shut down your communications," Chen explained. "We could have taken control of them. We have access codes for every major military installation in assembly space. We have mapped your computer networks. We have identified vulnerabilities in your ship designs. We could have crippled your fleet without firing a single shot. Commander Thex felt her heart sink. This was worse than she had imagined. Much worse. The humans had not just hidden and watched. They had infiltrated. They had prepared for every possibility. If they wanted to, they could destroy the assembly without ever engaging in traditional warfare. But we did not do any of those things, Chen continued. We shut down your systems to prove a point, and in a few minutes we will restore them. Because humanity does not want to be your enemy. We want to be your ally. We want to join the Galactic Assembly as equals. Equals, Ambassador Krell said bitterly. You hold all the power. You have shown us how vulnerable we are. And now you ask to join us as equals? Yes, Chen said simply. Because despite everything I have shown you today, we need the Assembly as much as you need us. We have technology you lack. But you have something we do not have: numbers, resources, established civilizations, and most importantly, you have knowledge of threats we have not yet encountered. The chronometer on her wrist beeped softly. Systems will be restored in 60 seconds. When they come back online, you will receive a formal petition from the United Nations Space Command. We are requesting admission to the Galactic Assembly as a sovereign member species. We are offering a technology sharing agreement. And we are offering to help defend assembly space against external threats. What threats? The Eltrani asked. The galaxy has been at peace for centuries. Admiral Chen looked at her, and for the first time Commander Thex saw real concern in the human's eyes. That is what I need to discuss with your leadership. But not here, not now. What I can tell you is this. Humanity has been watching the edges of the galaxy, and we have seen something coming, something that should concern all of us. Before anyone could ask more questions, Commander Thex felt her communicator vibrate. She looked down. The display was active again. Messages were flooding in from the monitoring station, from the Caldrex fleet, from High Command, all asking the same questions. What happened? Are you safe? What should we do? She looked up at Admiral Chen. The human was watching her with calm, patient eyes. 14 minutes. The blackout had lasted exactly 14 minutes, just as promised. The humans had demonstrated their power, then immediately stepped back. It was a message. A very clear message. We could destroy you, but we choose not to. Now let us talk. The Grand Convocation Chamber on Assembly Prime was built to inspire awe. Its crystal dome rose 300 meters above the floor, refracting light from the system's twin suns into cascading rainbows. Representatives from 47 species sat in concentric circles, each delegation in their designated section. This was where the great decisions of galactic civilization were made. Today, the chamber was filled with chaos. 2 weeks had passed since the blackout. 2 weeks of investigation, analysis, and argument. The human petition for assembly membership sat at the center of every debate, dividing the civilizations into angry factions. High Speaker Venchar, an ancient Caldrex whose tentacles had begun to turn silver with age, called for order. His amplified voice echoed through the chamber. Representatives, please. We must come to a decision. The humans await our response. Ambassador Krell rose from his seat, his massive form commanding attention. The decision is obvious. These humans have violated our sovereignty. They have demonstrated hostile capabilities. They have threatened the security of every world in this chamber. We should respond with immediate military action to eliminate this threat. Murmurs of agreement rippled through several delegations. The Vorlock military had always favored direct solutions to problems. But not everyone agreed. Representative Liara of the Alindri stood, her ancient eyes glowing softly. The Alindri were the oldest species in the assembly, their civilization stretching back over 30,000 years. When they spoke, others listened. Ambassador Krell speaks of military action, she said, her voice gentle but firm. But has he considered what such action would cost? The humans demonstrated their capabilities clearly. They shut down our entire communications network with a single command. What else might they be capable of? They have 200 ships, Krell countered. We have millions. Their fleet, no matter how advanced, cannot stand against the combined might of the assembly. Commander Thex, representing the Caldrex Military Command, requested permission to speak. High Speaker Venchar granted it with a wave of his tentacle. I have reviewed the intelligence reports, Thex said carefully. What we saw was not a war fleet. Those were scout vessels, reconnaissance ships. The humans have 40 colonized star systems. Our analysts estimate that their industrial capacity could support 10 times the number of ships we detected. Perhaps more. The vessels they showed us were meant to be seen. We have no idea what else they have hidden. The chamber fell silent. That possibility had not occurred to most of the representatives. If the human fleet was just the tip of a much larger military force, then direct confrontation might be far more costly than anyone had imagined. Admiral Torqueth, the supreme military commander of all assembly forces, rose to address the chamber. He was a Quilarian, and his species had the longest military tradition in the galaxy. His assessment would carry enormous weight. "I have spent the past 2 weeks analyzing the human demonstration," he began. "My staff has reviewed every detail of the blackout. We have tested our systems for vulnerabilities. We have tried to determine how the humans achieved what they did." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was grave. "I must report to this assembly that we failed. We cannot replicate their technology. We cannot detect their stealth satellites. We cannot even fully understand the principles behind their quantum interference field. The humans are not just ahead of us in one area. They are ahead of us in multiple critical technologies." Ambassador Krell slammed one of his 4 fists on his desk. "Then we develop countermeasures. We adapt. We have done this before when facing technological challenges." "With all respect, Ambassador, you do not understand," Torqueth replied. "The humans did not just develop better sensors or faster ships. They have been preparing for contact with us for 73 years. They know everything about our military doctrine, our ship designs, our communication protocols. They have identified weaknesses in our defenses that we did not know existed. If they chose to attack, they would not fight us ship to ship. They would cripple our infrastructure, blind our fleets, turn our own systems against us." The Admiral's words hung in the air like a death sentence. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This was not what they wanted to hear. The Assembly had been the dominant force in the galaxy for thousands of years. The idea that a single new species could pose such a threat was almost impossible to accept. Representative Liara spoke again. "Then perhaps we should consider their offer. They do not want war. They demonstrated their power, and then immediately offered partnership. That is not the behavior of a hostile species. Or it is the behavior of a species that wants us to lower our guard," Krell argued. "They show us they can hurt us, then offer friendship." "It is manipulation, perhaps," Liara acknowledged. "But consider this. If they wanted to conquer us, why reveal themselves at all? They were hidden for 73 years. They could have remained hidden for 73 more. They could have continued seeding our space with their technology. They could have struck when we were completely unprepared." Commander Thek stood again. "The Admiral mentioned something that has not been discussed. In their petition, the humans offered to help defend assembly space against external threats. When I met with Admiral Chen, she implied there was a reason for their timing, something they have detected that concerns them." High Speaker Venshar gestured for attention. "I have received a communication from the human delegation. They have requested permission to present evidence to this assembly. They claim it relates directly to their petition for membership. I have agreed to allow this presentation, unless there are objections." There were many objections, but not enough to block the motion. Within an hour, Admiral Chen entered the grand convocation chamber flanked by 2 human officers. She walked to the center of the chamber floor, where speakers addressed the assembly. She showed no sign of nervousness or fear, even though she was surrounded by representatives of civilizations that might choose to declare war on her species at any moment. "Honored representatives," she began, "I know many of you are angry with humanity. I know you feel we violated your trust before we ever met. But I need you to understand why we did what we did, and I need you to see what we have seen." She activated a holographic display. An image appeared above the chamber floor, rotating slowly. It showed a section of space at the very edge of the galaxy, far beyond any explored territory. 3 years ago, human deep space telescopes detected something unusual in this region: energy signatures, massive ones. We thought at first it might be natural phenomena, but as we gathered more data, we realized we were looking at artificial structures, ships, thousands of them, perhaps tens of thousands. The image zoomed in, showing more details. The representatives could see them now. Geometric shapes, regular patterns. This was not natural. This was built. We have been monitoring this fleet for 3 years, Chen continued. It is moving toward assembly space, slowly but steadily. At current velocity, it will reach the nearest assembly worlds in approximately 50 to 100 years. Representative Liara stood, her voice urgent. Why did you not inform us immediately? This is a threat to all civilized species. Because we were not certain you would believe us, Chen replied honestly. We were an unknown species with no credibility. We decided to wait until we could make formal contact. Until we could prove our capabilities and earn a place at this table. Because when that fleet arrives, we will need to face it together. Admiral Torqueth studied the holographic display with intense focus. Do you have any information about these ships? Their origin? Their purpose? Very little, Chen admitted. The energy signatures do not match any known biological civilization. Our analysts believe they may be artificial intelligence, machines. We have sent probes to gather more data, but at these distances, information takes years to reach us. The chamber erupted in discussion. Artificial intelligence. Machine fleets. These were nightmare scenarios that most civilizations had faced in their own histories. The Assembly had strict protocols for dealing with rogue AI, but nothing on this scale. Admiral Chen waited for the noise to die down. Humanity prepared for you because we learned a hard lesson on our homeworld. We learned that hope is not a strategy. We learned that peace is only possible when you are ready for war. We built our stealth fleet and our defensive networks because we did not know if the Assembly would be friend or enemy, but we always knew that something else was out there, something dangerous, and we knew that when it came we would need allies. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many representatives as she could. We are asking to join the Galactic Assembly not as conquerors but as partners. We have technology you need. You have resources and knowledge we need. Together we might be able to face what is coming. Apart we will all be vulnerable. The choice is yours. But please make it soon. We do not have a century to waste on politics while that fleet gets closer. Earth hung in the viewport like a blue and white jewel against the black of space. Admiral Chen stood in the observation deck of the Assembly diplomatic vessel, watching her homeworld slowly rotate below. Beside her, Commander Thex and Representative Liara gazed at the planet with fascination. It is beautiful, Liara said softly, but also violent. I can see the storm systems, the volcanic activity, the tectonic boundaries. This world is far more geologically active than most life-bearing planets. Earth has always been harsh, Chen agreed. Ice ages, supervolcano eruptions, asteroid impacts, mass extinctions. Life here learned to adapt or die. Humanity inherited that lesson. We are survivors because our world gave us no choice. The diplomatic vessel carried 200 representatives from the Galactic Assembly. After weeks of debate, the vote had finally been taken. Humanity would be admitted as a full member species with certain conditions. In return, they would share their stealth technology and help coordinate the Assembly's defense against the approaching machine fleet. But first, the Assembly leadership wanted to see Earth. They wanted to understand where humans came from. They wanted to know what kind of world could produce a species like this. The shuttle descended through the atmosphere, passing through layers of clouds before emerging over a sprawling cityscape. Geneva stretched out below them, a blend of ancient architecture and modern towers, all nestled between mountains and a vast lake. They landed at the United Nations headquarters, where human officials waited to greet them. The ceremony was brief but formal. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Everything was carefully choreographed to show both strength and diplomacy. After the official greetings, Admiral Chen led the delegation on a tour. She showed them historical sites, the ruins of ancient conflicts, monuments to wars that had nearly destroyed their civilization, museums that documented humanity's struggles and triumphs. Commander Thex found herself deeply disturbed by what she saw. Weapons of terrible power, conflicts that killed millions, ideologies that turned humans against each other with shocking brutality. The Kaldreks had their own dark history, but nothing quite like this. You destroyed yourselves repeatedly, she said to Chen as they stood in a museum dedicated to the nuclear age. How did your species survive? By learning from our mistakes, Chen replied. Every time we came to the brink, we pulled back. Not because we were peaceful, but because we were smart enough to realize that extinction served no one. We learned to cooperate, not out of love, but out of necessity. Representative Layara studied a display showing the timeline of human technological development. You went from primitive agriculture to spaceflight in less than 10,000 years. Most species take at least twice that long. You developed nuclear weapons within decades of discovering nuclear physics. You created artificial intelligence while still confined to a single planet. Such rapid advancement is dangerous. It is dangerous, Chen acknowledged. We lost billions of people to our own inventions, wars, plagues, environmental collapse. But each catastrophe taught us something. We learned to be careful. We learned to plan for the worst. And when we finally reached the stars, we brought all of those hard-won lessons with us. That evening, the delegation gathered in a conference hall for the formal treaty signing. The Assembly had agreed to humanity's terms. The Terran exclusion zone would be recognized. Human military forces would be granted autonomy in defensive operations. And most importantly, a joint task force would be established to study and prepare for the approaching machine fleet. As the representatives signed the documents, each in their own script, Commander Thex felt a strange mix of emotions. Fear, certainly. Humanity was unlike anything the Assembly had encountered before. But also hope, because if the machine fleet was as dangerous as the humans believed, then having such capable allies might make the difference between survival and extinction. After the ceremony, Admiral Chen invited Thex and Liara to join her in a private observation room. They stood together looking up at the night sky. You know, Chen said quietly, humanity almost gave up on the stars several times. After our first nuclear war, many people thought we should stay on Earth. They thought we were too dangerous to spread through the galaxy. But others argued that staying confined to one world meant certain death. Eventually or later, something would wipe us out. Asteroid impact, supervolcano, our own weapons. The only way to guarantee survival was to spread out, to become harder to kill. And when you found us? Thex asked. When you discovered the Assembly was already here. We were terrified, Chen admitted with a slight smile. We had spent centuries believing we were alone. Finding out we had neighbors changed everything. We did not know if you would be friendly or hostile. We did not know if you would see us as threats or equals, so we did what humans do best. We watched. We learned. We prepared for every possibility. Representative Liara turned to look at the Admiral. You said earlier that you have been guarding our borders for 3 years. What did you mean by that? Chen was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. When we detected the machine fleet 3 years ago, we could have continued hiding. We could have fortified our own space and left the Assembly to face the threat alone. But our analysts ran the projections. If the machines destroy the Assembly, they will eventually reach human space. We cannot survive alone, not against something that large. She pulled up a star map on a nearby display. It showed the entire region of space between the Assembly and the approaching machine fleet. Red markers indicated human military assets scattered throughout the area. For 3 years, we have been deploying forward observation posts, setting up early warning networks, mapping potential defensive positions. We have been building the infrastructure for a defense that does not belong to us alone. Because we understood something that the Assembly had forgotten. What is that? Liara asked. That in a universe full of dangers, no one survives by standing alone, Chen said simply. The Assembly has been at peace for so long that you forgot what it means to face an existential threat. You forgot how to be vigilant, how to prepare, how to sacrifice comfort for security. We never had that luxury. Earth taught us that survival requires constant effort, constant adaptation, and constant cooperation, even with those we do not fully trust. Commander Thex understood now. The humans had not been preparing just for first contact with the Assembly. They had been preparing for the real threat, the machine fleet that none of the Assembly worlds even knew existed until a few weeks ago. You could have struck us at any time, she said. You had the capability, the advantage. Why tell us about the machines? Why give up your strategic position? Admiral Chen turned to face her directly. Because conquering the Assembly would be easy. Saving it will be hard. And humanity did not come to the stars to be conquerors. We came to survive. We came to build something lasting, something worth defending. She gestured to the star map. In 50 to 100 years, that machine fleet will arrive. We do not know what it wants. We do not know if it can be reasoned with. But we know it is coming. And when it arrives, it will face not just the Assembly, and not just humanity. It will face all of us together. A united civilization with the resources of 47 species, and the tactical doctrine of a species that learned to survive the hard way. Representative Layara nodded slowly. I understand now why you did what you did. You were not preparing to fight us. You were preparing to save us. Not save you, Chen corrected gently.
Save all of us.
Because in the end we are all in this together. Human, Caldrex, Elindri, all of the assembly species. We share this galaxy. We share these threats. And if we are going to survive what is coming, we will need to share our strengths as well. She looked back out at the night sky, at the countless stars that filled the black. Somewhere out there at the edge of the galaxy, the machine fleet continued its slow, inexorable approach. But for the first time since humanity had detected it, Admiral Chen felt something like optimism. The assembly was no longer alone. Humanity was no longer alone. They had time to prepare, time to integrate their forces, time to share their knowledge and build something stronger than either could create separately. You know, she said to her companions, they think they discovered us. The assembly believes they found the human fleet hiding at the edge of their space. But the truth is more complex than that. What do you mean? Bex asked. Admiral Chen allowed herself a slight smile. We let them find us. We have been watching your borders for 3 years, Commander. 3 years of standing guard over worlds that did not even know we existed. We could have remained hidden for decades more. But the machine fleet is getting closer. We needed the assembly to be ready. We needed you to understand that the galaxy is more dangerous than you remembered, so we revealed ourselves. Not because you discovered us, but because it was time for all of us to stop pretending we were safe. The assembly discovered the human fleet, but humanity discovered something far more important. We discovered that we are not alone in facing what comes next, and neither are you.